Have you ever had a conversation where it felt like you were saying the same words but speaking two different languages? In today's episode, we're unpacking why definitions matter in effective communication and how not clarifying them could be killing your conversations before they even begin. We will also be taking three words from our listeners and sharing our definitions.
So here's a wonderful review from Cheddar Mom. She says, loved this episode. It was deeply insightful when it came to understanding emotions and improving communication. What stood out most was how clearly they explained the importance of validating feelings, listening with intent, and the power of asking the right questions rather than jumping to solutions. I found myself pausing the episode multiple times just to write things down. This wasn't a feel-good content. It was genuinely useful. Whether you're trying to strengthen your relationships, communicate better with your kids or partner, or just want to become more emotionally aware, this episode is a must. Highly recommend. Thank you, Chatter Mom, for the review. Really appreciate it. We love it when you guys leave reviews, so please leave reviews for us.
Welcome to Communication Skills for Working Women. I'm Elizabeth.
And I'm Rose May. Do you find yourself second guessing or avoiding conversations because you're worried about being misunderstood?
You're not alone. On this show, we're sharing tangible tools for assertiveness, emotional resilience, and real-life communication wins and fails.
Let's sharpen our communication together.
As I've been thinking about definitions, I've been seeing the importance of clarifying definitions everywhere. When I say clarifying definitions, I mean clarifying the words you're using when you're talking with someone, clarifying your understanding. So, this couple weekends ago, our family was on a trip, and in the hotel room, we ended up watching the TV show Shark Tank. And the person pitching to the investors was identifying himself as someone who creates robots. And one of the investors identified him as a systems integrator. This exchange turned into a heated conversation around these definitions. And these two individuals did not come to an agreement or an understanding. And for that reason, they ended up not working together.
That stinks so bad.
And it happens all the time. I mean, on that TV show, he's pitching and needing money.
Yeah.
But how often are we needing different needs filled, or we're trying to work with somebody and we just have different definitions, and so we are not understanding each other, or we're stuck on our definition and not willing to hear what the other person was saying?
Yeah.
Because I was sitting there watching the show and I'm like, who cares? He's calling you a systems integrator. Like,
Right?
yes, you agreed that how he defined a system integrator was what you were doing. But
Yes.
this guy wanted to be considered someone who created robots. Very interesting to watch them
And
figure
it
it
is
out.
interesting, but also like words carry meaning. Just even as you're talking about this example from Shark Tank, I'm thinking about words in Portuguese. Portuguese is probably the language that I learned the best while living overseas. And by the best, I mean I spoke like a 4-year-old. I think I've said that multiple times. But there are words in Portuguese that do not translate into English, but there's an emotional attachment to those words. So like an example of that is like the word saudade. Saudade means like I can't even explain it to in English, but it's like the best way is like a longing for someone, a missing of someone that includes like a longing feeling. It's very heartfelt and very physical missing and someone, and you can use it in multiple settings. It's usually used between friends. But even that word holds so much emotional attachment. I think like what I'm hearing, Shark Tank people, just like robot guy, like there's probably some emotional attachment around knowing and defining yourself as a robot creator, right? Um,
Absolutely.
So it's like missed opportunity because we have these emotional connections to certain words based on like our frame of reference, how we grew up, how they were used, when we were younger. And so yeah, very, very interesting that episode.
Yes. Well, and just as you're talking about different languages, I was thinking about living in different parts of the country, different family systems. We
Yeah,
all have words that mean things to us that they don't mean to other people.
right.
So let's dig into three words that our audience shared with us, and they were curious about our definitions around these words.
So the first word that was suggested or that was expressed was the word happiness. Happiness. I hate this word um, with a passion. And this is my emotional attachment around this word. I feel like it's almost been weaponized, that you must be happy at all times. There's kind of this understanding that you should be happy all the time, that even when life throws curveballs, you should try to find the happiness. I hate that word. I feel like it's unrealistic. I feel like there are moments of time when I am feeling like gratitude and joy sometimes. Joy I hate too sometimes, but or maybe even feeling happiness as it is defined, but I don't like that word and I don't use that word actually. I don't use it because I don't like it.
Okay, so how would you define happiness?
I don't know because I don't use it.
Hmm.
But I mean, I guess.
But you don't use it because you don't like what you associate with it.
Right, right. And so if I'm thinking, and so I don't even have that, I guess that is another point too, is that I don't even have a definition for this word because it's so emotionally attached with the way that others have defined it for me that
Mm.
I don't feel like I have a clear definition. I mean, I guess it's just like being happy, the state of being happy. That's a great definition. But the state of just, okay, so here's what I picture in my mind. I picture a very Pollyanna kind of person who is always experiencing joy, which, okay, I know that doesn't sound like something that I should not like. But it bothers me. I'm not gonna lie. I don't have an answer for this question. I
Well,
I, I got to tap out. Let me tap out. Let me tap out.
as you described that, a person who's always kind of Pollyanna, the thought that came to me was, oh, when she's describing that as happiness, she is seeing happiness as someone who's not acknowledging the realities of life.
Yes, that's why
And
I don't like the word because that's how it's been used.
right.
Yes, that.
That is very interesting. So I don't really like the word happiness either, to be honest. I
Yeah.
don't really like when people are like, "Oh, I just want you to be happy." I'm like, "What the heck does that even mean?"
Right.
And
By the
so,
way, I just want people to know we're very, I mean, I feel like we're lovely people, right? We're lovely
for
people.
sure, we're very
Don't get
lovely.
turned off by this conversation that we're having, okay?
I I don't like the word happiness. Well, okay, I don't know how I would even define happiness either. And so I struggle with the word happiness, so I too kind of stay away from it. So
Yeah.
this is like information for me when someone says, "Oh, I just want them to be happy." I should
Right.
initially say like, "What does that mean to you?" instead of
Yeah.
me just being like, "Oh, I hate that word." Or what do they even mean? I want a happy life. Like, what is that? So,
Right.
we'll
Well,
get into some tactical skills here in a minute, you
yes.
guys. So don't fear that you won't get
Yes.
anything out of this episode. We're going to talk about a few more definitions, but we'll get into some skills too.
You definitely will get some tactical skills. And I'm as you're saying that, I'm thinking, I'm being a little bit reflective and thinking, oh, I when I think about my children, for example, like we were talking about this last night, people saying they want their children to just be happy. And I'm like, my kids are not going to be happy. Like life is going to bring them some trials, some tribulations. They're going to be in the pits of despair. Like that is the human experience. I think that I do use happy sometimes in saying I may be happy with my choices.
Mm.
So if I've made a choice, maybe happy with maybe the way that I came to that decision or happy with the outcome. But when I think of happiness, I think of it as a permanent state of being, and that's what I dislike. Thank
Oh,
you for
that
helping
it's
me work that
permanent.
out.
Yes. So that, yeah. Okay, let's move on to comfort.
Okay.
The person that sent in comfort, they gave their definition of comfort
Hmm.
as well. We'll share that after we share our definitions of comfort. So for me, the definition of comfort, if someone said, are you comfortable? For me, comfort feels safe, that I'm
Yeah, I was going to say
not,
that.
that's how I feel. Like I know all my basic needs are going to be taken care of and I'm not in any like imminent danger.
Yes, yes, that's how I define comfort too. Wow, good thing we're both seeing therapists. I would say that I would agree with that. That's when exa as soon as you started, I was like, well, I feel safe when I'm
Hmm.
comfortable, thinking about the word comfortable, and then thinking about discomfort. I'm like, well, what does discomfort? Discomfort for me means like uncertainty or unpredictability. And so, yeah, I guess feeling comfortable means feeling safe.
Yeah.
I like that definition actually. That is very representative of my life anyway.
Discomfort, if someone asked me what discomfort meant for me, I wouldn't say feeling like that I was feeling unsafe, which is
Mm,
very interesting.
right,
I would say if I was feeling discomfort, I would say like I'm feeling uncertain or I'm
yeah,
feeling like I can't handle this.
right.
So comfort, I'm associating the word comfort as more of a physical experience, and I'm
Yeah,
associating discomfort as more of an intellectual experience.
totally same. But discomfort also, I know, for example, when I am feeling uncomfortable, I get a pit in my like the
Mhm.
yeah, there's a pit in my stomach. There's a feeling of like uneasiness. Sometimes it's nausea. Sometimes I even get like confused. I feel like that is like think about a ball of yarn. I feel like my brain turns into like a ball of yarn sometimes. That's how I feel when
Right.
I'm thinking about discomfort. So yeah, yeah. Physically, I think I have a response.
You guys chose some good words. So
I know
this
these are
viewer said comfort for them was the absence of stress or worry.
yeah, I could see that.
Me
But I'm
too.
also comfortable with sometimes I get stressed out and it's not uncomfortable for me. I
Right?
don't feel like stress is uncomfortable for me personally. Like I'm like, it's a stressful day. I have 10,000 meetings.
Yeah.
And so I'm moving from place to place to place. And that is a little bit stressful because I'm worried about getting to someplace on time or, doing getting all these things done. But I don't know that it necessarily means I'm uncomfortable.
See, definitions. There's so much
Yeah.
power in having those conversations with someone. Like if
Yeah.
someone's like, "Are you comfortable?" Well, yeah.
Yeah.
That what does that mean? Well, again,
Yeah.
we'll get to tactical stuff too, but
Yeah. 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 The one of the last words that we wanted to discuss today was balance. And when I think of balance, I think about, and this is just the phase of life I'm in, but I think about balancing my home responsibilities with my work responsibilities, with my responsibilities as, I don't even want to say my responsibilities, my desires as a friend, my desires as, a colleague or a mentor. Um, Balance has meant something very different for me in these last, I would say, 5 years. So, where I was in my younger years, I think that I thought of balance as everything being equal. And now for me, balance means that whatever requires the amount of, or what if something requires a longer amount of time, I'm willing to give it more time or more space or more of me, and accepting that other parts of my life are going to suffer. There have been times when I've had to focus more on like writing my dissertation than hanging out and playing pickleball, right? And that's like a very, I don't know, simple kind of idea. But over time, I think that has made a big difference in my life, just recognizing like for this dissertation, like this is going to require time, and it's okay that my life is balanced in this way.
right.
I don't know. So it's less equal and more of being able to allot resources and time where they belong without feeling guilty or without feeling with and being accepting of those, I guess, that allotment of time and resources.
So then does that change? Because the definition of balance, it like in my mind, is a pretty literal definition. Like
Yeah.
balance means that there's an even distribution of weight or there's an even
Yes.
distribution of funds or,
Yeah.
a balance is when things are equal
Yeah.
and or in the correct proportions.
Yeah.
Yet we talk about this word balance all the time with our lives and our time. And so I've thrown the word balance out of my mind, my vocabulary when it comes to
Yeah.
my life. Because for me, my life needs to be in alignment
Yeah.
with my values. It doesn't need to be balanced.
Yes. And I think that's the point that I've gotten to as well, is that I don't, you can't do, it is physically impossible to do all things,
Right.
allot the amount of time and resources to all things equally. You just can't. When you have a 2-year-old versus, a 17-year-old, there are times when like their emotional well-being is there's more poured into their emotional well-being maybe when they're 2 than when they're 17. I don't know, depends on the kid, but
I was going to say,
it
or the
depends on the kid
opposite,
or
depending
the
on the
opposite.
child.
Right. And so I think you're robbing some time or some resources from someone else to make sure that that is, I don't know, that you can be present for that if that's a value for you, I guess.
I
I
find
don't
it
know.
really interesting too that we both saw balance and then turned it into, we interpreted it as a work-life balance when the
Yes.
person just wrote the word balance.
Right.
They
Right.
didn't they didn't ask any questions around it or anything like that. And we immediately turned it into that kind of what does it mean in my life? So,
Right.
because it's a word we use all the time, we hear the
All
word
the time.
work life balance, and
Right. But your
it's
life is
actually
never,
not a thing.
it's not a thing. I mean, you're spending 8 hours, depending on how much travel time you're taking for work. Like, I mean, and you're devoting what, maybe another like 4 hours at the end of the day, even just time wise. Like there's no balance.
Right. Yeah, when you use the definition of balancing
Right.
things, evenly distributing things, that doesn't work with time. But
Nope.
alignment with values does, which we are going to get
Yes.
into at next
Yes.
episode. So
Yes.
let's move into some tactical tips because clearly you're going to have conversations where your definitions may not align. And it's really great to recognize that. And then we'll give you some things that you can do.
So, number one, you can ask early on in your conversation when you're recognizing that maybe we're talking about two different things or we're seeing these differently. So you could even say, when you say balance, what do you actually mean by that? This is really helpful in times of conflict or emotional conversations. It sounded like Robot Guy and Shark Tank Guy. That sounded like it was pretty emotional because they couldn't even get to a point where they can make a resolution. So asking early on, just so everybody's on the same page, right? Operationalizing your definitions. That's a really great way to start a conversation or interaction from a place where people are all on the same page.
And when you do this ask early step, it also invites people to pause, take a breath,
Mhm.
apply some of these other skills that we've talked about so that you have a minute to gain clarity, to be able to ask a question. There's so much that comes from asking this question early of when you say balance or fill in the blank, what do
Right.
you mean by that? It's a really powerful tool by asking it early. So, another thing to ask or another thing to do is don't assume that you have a shared meaning. So, Rosemary and I both don't like the word happiness, but that is probably not the norm.
Mm.
So, you can say, what do you mean by that? Well, okay, we just said that ask early. Don't assume that. Just don't assume that you have a shared meaning. So here are a few words: love, respect, success, busy, trauma, each one of those words could hold a very different meaning to different
Totally.
people.
Totally. And again, it comes from a place of reference, the experience with the word, how that word was used. There are many words that I maybe 10 years ago, I think I wouldn't think very much about, but we use them now that I think hold different meanings. And um, I don't know. They just, if I compare, society 10 years ago, right? I feel like some words mean something different. There are a lot of like, I would say like colloquial vernacular that is used here in Utah. And I'm just giving this as an example because this is where I've been for the last 4 years. But there are words that are used here that I, as a person who tends to think a little bit more literally, I do not understand. And I have to ask clarification for. It's simple words. I mean, I'm not talking about like dictionary words. It's words as simple as fun. And I know that sounds so silly, but it means something different to so many people. Anyways, so oftentimes I find myself saying, okay, when you say fun, is it because you define fun as X, Y, and Z? Or when you say you felt disrespected, is it because you define respect as being included in decisions, right? Am I hearing this correctly? Am I hearing that right? That could go a long way again in making sure that we're all on the same page. But then I just by being curious, I can have an understanding of what this word is meaning for you.
So ask early, don't assume that you have a shared meaning, and then repeat it back to the person. Those are all really great things to do when you're wanting to clarify definitions with people. So, your
Yes.
challenge this week is in your next meaningful conversation, pick one word that comes up and pause to define it. It doesn't even have to be an emotional situation, it doesn't have to be like anything, just a meaningful conversation. And then notice how the tone shifts when both of you know you're on the same page.
Words are tools, folks, but it's only when both people agree on what they mean do they actually become tools that can be helpful in navigating situations that can be difficult or emotionally charged. So, if you found this episode helpful, please, please, please be sure to share it with someone who would benefit. And don't forget to follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode. Your support means so much to us. Connect with us on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women or send us an email at communicationskillsforwomen@gmail.com or check out our website for more personalized coaching options at communicateconnectthrive.com. All of these will be linked in the show notes. So until next time.
Speak clearly and listen bravely.
When you feel confident in your communication, everything changes.
We'd love to hear your wins, failures, and insights on Instagram at Communication Skills for Women. Leave a review and connect with us.
Until next time, speak clearly and listen bravely.